Welcome, First Issue Club members. Got a special little episode here today. These guys are, I'll call them my little pet project. I found them on a Kickstarter, did a write-up of the book. It's ARKS. I'm sure all of my fans out there know, but I've got an interview with one of the creators here. It's Rory Collins. Rory, thanks for being here. Super excited about the book. Super excited to have you. So right at the top of the episode, if you could give the folks out there that might not have read my review, just a little overview of who you are, what you love about comic books, and the elevator pitch for ARKS.
Okay. So I started off in film and TV in the art department, doing model making and storyboarding, and I worked on Band of Brothers, Children of Men, did like quite a few films in the early noughties, and then sort of took the storyboarding into advertising because I got bored of sitting on the M25, which is the road outside London. So I got a job in London so I could walk to work. And then during I've been writing scripts in that whole kind of indie film scene the whole time during that, and not really necessarily getting very far with it. And during COVID, a friend suggested I try and adapt one of the scripts I'd written into a novel, which I didn't really know how to do because I'm not really that kind of writer. But it was COVID, so I just thought, okay, I'll draw it and I'll start doing it. And I was kind of I'd always put off the thought of making a graphic novel because even though I'm quite a good drawer, the idea of drawing someone's likeness for like 1,000 pieces of art, it was just like, God, that's going to get so tedious having to draw the same character over and over again. So a good friend of mine at the time, he does a lot of like ZBrush stuff. He said, well, I'll make you like 3D characters and you can like pose them like a marionette.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was my kind of way around doing this, the bit that I was dreading. So we did the first issue during COVID, and then I realized it would take me about 10 years if I was going to try and make it all on my own. So I found the same guy who did ZBrush, Andrew Morris, who's an amazing artist. So I kind of cornered him and got him to do the art for the second, third, and fourth book, and he's doing the fifth now. And the elevator pitch for ARKS is, basically I'm quite a pedantic person, and I love science fiction, but I think science fiction, most contemporary science fiction, and I have to, air quotes here because people can get upset. I think most mainstream science fiction is really pretty bad now. And not bad because it's bad, like bad quality, but because it hasn't really moved with the science. Like it's not really inspired by contemporary science fiction. It's kind of it kind of imitates the past. It imitates...
it's stale.
Yeah, it's stale. It's kind of imitating ideas, because that's kind of what we do, like as human beings. Like we see something we like and we kind of imitate it and we kind of try and make our own thing. And I think people are still trying to make Star Trek and Star Wars now and things like it. Even though the science is pretty emphatic about how incredibly complicated it would be to even get to a nearby star. So I'd read about direct panspermia, I'd known about it for years, and I thought, why has no one made a film about this? Because it would be an awesome movie. And no one has. Has people have written books? So there's First Men, Last Men, I think it is. It's a book that was written in the 40s, but no one's made anything mainstream. So
So the idea's been around for a while in sci-fi.
Yeah, I mean, the idea's been around since the 5th century. I mean, the Greeks came up with it. I mean, it's
right.
Like, Alexander, I can't pronounce his name. Anaxagoras, who's a philosopher, he came up with the idea of panspermia, which translates as all seed, which is the idea that life could have started on this earth from being inseminated from somewhere else.
Yeah, cast across the galaxy or whatever. Right.
Exactly, and it's just kind of the idea has kind of been passed on down the centuries until I think it was Sir Francis Crick, the guy that discovered DNA, coined directed panspermia, which is that you do it on purpose. And then the incredible American inventor Craig Venter and other people have been talking about things analogous to this. So it's kind of that's my not very succinct elevator pitch.
Okay, so digging deeper, obviously ARKS wears a lot of its influences on its sleeve pretty
Hmm.
heavily. You know, a lot
Hmm.
of Aliens, a lot of Cronenberg.
Hmm.
Um, but the idea to actually create a fiction piece based on this fairly real world idea,
Hmm.
did that evolve over years? Was it just like hit you on the train one day, or
Oh no,
where
it
did
was
that come from?
years. It was a TV show. I wrote it as a TV show, a 30-minute TV show. Then it became a film. Then it kind of got picked up. It got optioned for a little while, but like with a really small studio, and then they called on it, and then sort of it's existed in lots of forms. I mean, I've been working on it on and off for like over 10 years. It's been a long time.
Man,
Not that I've only been working on the comic for
yeah,
3 or 4 of that, but it's just like But I think that's how a lot of scripts exist now, because they just kind of they either
yeah,
get hoovered up.
some form of limbo.
Yeah, limbo. Yeah, because especially like I've got no pedigree. I've made nothing. So other than these books, so like the thing with film is that they're looking for a market. I didn't really realize this when I was younger, but they're really looking for a market. And if you haven't made anything from this, you don't have a following, then they don't care.
Yeah,
So yeah.
given the success of stuff by like Raised by Wolves
Mm,
is what comes to mind.
mm.
I'm shocked that this was not picked up by somebody.
Oh, thank you.
I, I mean,
Yeah.
it's genius. It really is.
Oh, thank
And
you.
the quote that I gave you guys that true to this day
Mm.
is this is really a new genre of sci-fi.
Oh, thank you.
It's I mean, it shocked me the first time I read it
Mm,
that there was nothing else like this,
mm,
especially given the fact that this idea has been around for
mm,
thousands of years,
mm.
hundreds of years, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So the next thing I want to ask, pick your brain about
Mm,
is when you're writing a book like this that is
mm,
pretty hard sci-fi,
mm,
you have to balance the science and
mm,
making it convincing
mm,
with telling an interesting story.
mm.
How do you do that? How do you maintain a story that makes people want to flip pages without writing an instruction manual?
Well, it's nice you say that. My own personal criticism of the book is it is a little bit overwrought, and I have been a little bit too science obsessed in it, because I think it's because maybe I'm a bit insecure because I'm not actually a scientist myself, so I'm a bit insecure about some of my research. So I kind of go a little bit OTT with the, but the story really, I mean, it's just kind of writes itself, really. I mean, like if you're going to do a process like this where you're going to take this kind of semi-sentient bacteria that and have put it in a big paddling pool full of AI and use it to make a man and a woman, they're going to be kind of trapped in this really weird place. And then like there's a kind of religious analogy in it about Lilith being the first woman, which is kind of like kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this is kind of the prologue. The actual story itself is actually kind of the story that happens after the Lilith and Joe story. I mean, I've kind of
Okay.
done the unusual step of normally the classic writerly thing is you start in the middle, you start in the exciting bit, and I was like, no, I'm going to start. I'm going to start right at the beginning.
Yeah.
So the story is kind of what happens afterwards, which is what kind of like, even though it's not quite finished up, what Arts Proxman is going to be about, and then they're all sort of going to interconnect, because the idea is that sending bacteria to a planet, yeah, who cares? It's not going to affect us. But the
Sure.
thing is it will, because if we can network planets together by sending this bacteria to them, we can then create a network. So we will be able to talk to each other. And then if the network is big enough, then, and you have enough time, you could kind of, in theory, colonize the whole galaxy within 10 million years, which is, again, like a stupendous amount of time. But on the cosmic scale, it's nothing. So it's kind of, it's kind of, if there is a future where we become multiplanetary in the sense that we leave our own solar system, it will be something like this. It won't be. I won't.
Yeah, we're not going to send a rocket ship, right?
Yeah, we're not going to send a rocket ship. It will be us finding some way to cheat and get there, and then networking the planets together, and then my own the kind of crux of the story is that when they start looking back to Earth to actually get a signal from Earth, they get this girl who gets sent
Yeah.
through, and that's kind of the premise for the main crux of the story. I can't even remember what your question was. Sorry, man, I've been roughly.
You're good. You're good. Okay, so my next question was going to be, um, why you chose to make this a pretty intimate story, but it sounds like you're kind of doing both, where each book is going to be a pretty localized human story,
Mm.
but the series as a whole is going to be more like a Dune, where
Yeah.
it's millions of years,
Mm.
planet spanning.
Mm.
Um, Again, how do you balance those? Because Dune is way too much.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. So I'm totally with you. I mean, it's they're kind of time. The idea is if you're going to like network planets together like this, we all be kind of the only analogy I can think of is like a time capsule, in that we're never really with each other. It's just we're sending we're like lighthouses. We're sending messages out across the galaxy, and the idea is Odd, who's in the news story, and Lilith and Joe, in this kind of weird quirk, they kind of become immortal because they're the first ARKS. They kind of get bounced around the network, and so the first ones get booted a few thousand years after they get sent, and then I haven't got this far with the story, but there's words on paper for it. Is that they bounce around the network for millions of years, so they're kind of eternal in a way. They kind of keep coming back, and
Yeah.
But the problem is that the network, the kind of the connection between Earth, kind of immediately goes down because they're sending this girl everywhere, and they don't know why. And then the story becomes a very kind of how do you stop something that you're not I don't know. It's kind of it's very Three Body Problem. It's very kind of Dark Forest.
Yeah.
The idea that the network is, to actually communicate with each other is incredibly dangerous. So the idea is that they don't know that at first. So they are very personal stories because it's normally just one of these characters, just an arc, just waking up and finding out fairly quickly, or not at all, that they can't communicate with anyone because of how dangerous it is. So
that was one of the things that drew me to the book pretty quickly, was the idea that this is such an advanced technology, and yet it's a caveman story, right?
Yeah.
At the very beginning. And it's also really interesting to think about the whole idea that the most dangerous game is man, right?
Yeah.
Where even if we're communicating with each other, ultimately we will be our own downfall. Is that kind of the whole idea behind the book?
Yeah, it kind of is. It's how will I describe it? It's dealing with memory. It's dealing with our past. Like all these characters kind of have a memory of Earth to some degree, apart from the character in the news story who's like brand new. And it's about their kind of memory of it, and how memory is kind of dangerous. And I don't know. It's
yeah, sure. No, yeah. I get you. Ultimately memory is the only thing that causes violence, right?
Yeah.
Moving forward, if you completely forget memories of your past, you should be a pretty happy person. But I also kind of want to pick your brain about the industry as a whole. Are you a comic book person, I guess, given your background?
Yeah, I'm not like I wouldn't. I had a discussion the other day with a friend about the difference between a nerd and a geek.
Yeah,
well, I think they're different. I kind of consider myself more of a nerd than a geek. So I kind of I can get kind of a bit annoyed about the detail, and I kind of so I'm not really a collector. So I don't really I'm saying that I actually am quite obsessed with Aliens comics. Like the movie adaptation of Alien. Like when
Uh huh.
all the Dark Horse Alien comics were my favorite growing up. Like, I used to collect all of those. So I'm more of a graphic novel bloke. I like the finished book.
Yeah.
So that's kind of me. Even though I'm now doing crowdfunding, and when people come up to me and they say, I kind of want it when it's finished, I'm like, yeah, I get that, but it might not get finished.
Yeah.
So if you want the whole book, it's. But yeah, I'm a graphic novel. I'm a casual, maybe a
Sure.
casual. Yeah.
Okay. So the next question becomes: we're obviously U.S. based. You're obviously U.K. based.
Mm-hmm.
Any chance we'll be able to pick these up in our local comic stores?
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah. We're basically we're based in London.
Uh huh.
So at the moment it's all just Kickstarter, and we're posting them, which is incredibly expensive for us and for you
Yeah.
in the States. So it's we'd love to get a distributor or a publisher involved, but we're kind of, I don't know. It's a weird time for publishing, I think, because it's like I've been talking to a lot of people on the circuit here in the UK who do a lot of the big Comic Cons, and we're kind of in this weird time where there's kind of less incentive for writers to go with publishers because they can sort of crowdfund it themselves, and if
Mm-hmm.
you can find someone to distribute your work, so we're sort of in that place now where we're looking for a publisher or a distributor, but also kind of not looking. We're just kind of trying to make the book, and if we could get it into comic shops in America, that'd be amazing. So we have to work out how to do that. I don't know how you do that.
Love to see it. Yeah, it seems like this is, like you said, an interesting time because there's a lot. It seems like the opportunity to write a very unique book like this is clear. It's
Mm.
evident. There's an appetite for it.
Mm.
There's a desire for people to distribute.
Mm.
But at the same time, why wouldn't you do crowdfunding?
Mm.
Right? Why wouldn't you maintain complete control over your own work?
Mm.
Well, I'm glad to hear you're having success.
Yeah.
The last big question I'll ask, I guess, is: do you have any plans beyond ARKS? Is this going to be your full-time gig? Do you plan on staying in comics for a while?
Oh yeah, well, I think so. I think I kind of like this. I've kind of done done the film financing kind of thing. It's not really for me. I'm not really. I'm like I like the craftiness of comics. I like working with comic book creators. Like working with film people is fine, but they're like it's kind of a bit of a weird crowd. Quite competitive, and it's kind of hard. And whereas comics it feels much more collaborative. People are just kind of making stuff, and it just feels a lot more kind of wholesome. I like it a lot, and I've written loads of stuff other than ARKS.
Oh, okay.
I don't know whether they would work. One of them probably could. One of them would probably be quite a good graphic novel. But yeah, I would love to. But got to get there or find someone who's going to pay for it.
Yeah, you got to crack in, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, where can people find you? Where can people find ARKS? How can I give you money to support this book?
You can go to our website. It's called clickysproutwife.com. So it's a bit of a mouthful, but it's named after my wife, Holly, who produces the book. So if you go there, you can buy our books. You can't currently buy them at the moment because we're currently it's currently a landing page for our Kickstarter, which will be coming out on the May 21st.
Okay.
8 p.m. BST. So for you guys, it'll be like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It comes out. So that's our next Kickstarter, ARKS issue 5, and then you'll be able to pick up all the other books, or the previous books at that campaign. And then afterwards, if you want to buy the books, just go to our website, clickysproutwife.com, and you'll be able to buy them. And we try and do 2 crowdfunders a year. That's where you can pick them up at the moment. So
okay,
yeah,
great. Well, anything else you want to talk about? Anything? Last comments, concerns?
I don't know. What's okay? Yeah, you can tell. You've probably. What can you recommend good Comic Cons to go to in the US?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because you guys are just so spoilt. For, you have these the UK scene. Don't get me wrong, it's okay. London MCM's great. Thought Bubble is amazing. And the Lakes is good, but like they're not like American cons, which are like they just sound amazing. When I've spoken to American creators, they come to the UK ones and they're super polite about it, but they're like, this is tiny compared to what you guys do. So
yeah, well, I mean, everything's bigger over here, right? The country, the people, everything. So
you guys are it's better, it's newer, snazzier.
It's newer. It is newer. Newer is always better. The big cons, man. Emerald City out in the West Coast is really big. Obviously, we've got San Diego Comic-Con, LA Comic-Con.
Yeah.
New York on the East Coast is a big one.
Yeah.
We've got a couple here in the Midwest in the flyover states. C2E2 in Chicago.
Yeah, okay.
We're actually going to that as a podcast this week. Pretty excited about that.
Great.
And we've got our own little baby show here in Kansas City, Planet Comic-Con.
Planet Comic-Con, okay. I'm going to write that down. C2E2 and Planet Comic-Con.
Yeah, we'd love to get you out. Maybe we'll get you on stage.
We have applied to go to New York this year. I don't think we'll get in because we're probably a little bit small fry, but we have applied to go to New York. So,
man, that would be great.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, really appreciate you sitting down with me, Rory.
Thanks for getting up so early to do a podcast.
Oh, happy to do it. Hopefully we can work together a little bit more, support ARKS.
Incredible.
I love the book.
Thank you.
Great talking to you.
You
We'll reach out soon and get it together.
Fantastic. Sounds amazing.
Great. Thanks, Rory. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you so much.